All right, it's 4:15, so I think I'll bring the meeting to order. This is the Historic District Commission for the town of Fairfield. The date is January 11th, 2024. The time is 4:15. Notice that this hearing was published on the Friday, December 29th edition of the Fairfield Citizen. The voting alternates will be Bohan, Clark, and we'll take attendance. Art Urbanus, Commissioner. Art Urbanus, Commissioner.
You muted?
Yeah. I think he just dropped. Rosina Negron, Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. Darren Raymond Locke, Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. Jim Bohan, Alternate Commissioner.
You're muted.
Jim, you're muted. Art Urbanus, Commissioner.
I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you, Art. And I'm Adam Cliver, Commissioner. Jim Bohan is here. He is muted. Jim, can you speak up, please? Can you unmute yourself? Okay, he can't unmute himself. Anyway. Okay, moving on.
Good night,
On the
Gibson.
agenda. Oh, George Clark. I thought I called you.
That's
George Clark,
okay. That's
Alternate
okay.
Commissioner, thank you.
Yep, no problem, Adam.
You caught me before I moved on. First item on the agenda is Bonnie Page, 163 Harbor Road in Southport, for property located at 163 Harbor Road in Southport for A, decrease size of rear deck, B, replace existing deck and stairs, C, replace existing deck railing and lower deck enclosure, D, remove trash receptacle, E, new 4-foot high generator platform, F, new 4-foot high condenser platform, G, replace asphalt roof with cedar roof, H, replace aluminum gutters and downspouts with copper, I, revise and replace all windows and doors, J, revise and replace garage doors and louver, K, enclose existing front entry, L, new dormer, M, new bluestone chimney cap, N, revised front, side, and rear elevations, O, new 6-foot by 9-foot entry portico, P, remove roof to create exterior deck with shingle wall guard, Q, replace chain link fence with wood fence, R, native stone driveway with metal edging, S, bluestone path instead of native stone with metal edging, T, gravel patio with metal edging, U, generator gate, and V, raised seawall 1 foot. So someone here representing Bonnie Page.
Hello.
Chair.
everyone.
Hi, and Chair, this is Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzi LLC, offices at 10 Sasco Hill Road, and here in Fairfield. And here, I just a couple remarks before Ms. Page, who, I know eats, sleeps, and breathes this application, so she knows it backwards and forwards. But I just wanted to, it's good to be before this commission. I just wanted to say a couple words. I know I've talked with Ms. Page. I've reviewed this application with her. She's really worked diligently on this. I reviewed it with her with regards to the zoning regulations. And I know we've had conversations with the town with regards to, whether this project conforms, and it does conform to the zoning regulations. Actually, in a lot of areas like side setback, she's well in excess of what's required under the regulations. And it's on a lot that personally I think is one of the trickiest lots in the historic district. It is not an easy lot. I think she will speak to that. And despite that, I think she has done a really great job with the design here. And then I know there's been some comments that are submitted by neighbors. And Ms. Page is going to take you through it. But she's made an extensive amount of revisions in response to those comments. I know she's met the commissioners out on site and taken, your comments and made revisions, but as well as comments that are made from the neighbors. And I understand, the neighbors are going to have, each one's going to have their own opinion as to the design of it. But, one thing I would stress is in reviewing this with Ms. Page, I think everything she has done is in conformity with your guidelines and is done with your guidelines in mind. And I think what she's presenting today, what she's going to go through, if you look at your guidelines, this application is really in keeping with it. So with that, I won't take up more of your time, but I'll turn it over to Ms. Page so she can go through this application. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Chris.
before you begin, Bonnie, this is Commissioner Art Gravanis.
Hello.
Just in the spirit of Chris Russo's comments, we'd love it if you just stick to the substantive elements of your application. There's a lot of stuff in there that we've reviewed and we're looking forward to it. But I think last time your presentation was sort of obscured with, some of the editorializing. So at least what's helpful to me is if we really zero in on the what you're presenting and the substantive rather than the other stuff. And, I think we're in a better position to evaluate it. Thank you.
Okay, can I ask one question to that topic?
Sure.
You can ask anything you
Sure.
want. Just the spirit of that is just to we want to focus on the substantive elements as opposed to the backstory. That's all I meant.
Oh, that's fine. Would you like to see the existing home?
I'll leave that to
Bonnie,
Commissioner.
Go
Bonnie,
ahead,
just
Adam.
present your application like you would,
Okay, thank you.
And
I'm
I
going
think
to,
Art is just asking you to sort of stay on point so that
I
we'll
will
focus
do my
on
best.
what
I
you're,
have
what
it
you're
all written
presenting
down.
and not don't get focused on the hardships of zoning and wetlands and all that stuff that might confuse us. Okay.
All right, I have it written down and I'm going to read what I have written because I think
Okay.
I have to speak a little bit to the to what I'm doing for you to understand where it's coming from, because some people I think on this that are watching today need some of those answers that were not answered before. So
That's fine. But like I said before, where you're coming from is less important than what's actually presented in your application, and want to hear to evaluate whether it's appropriate or not. So my advice would you is to stick to that rather than where you're coming from.
okay. All right, I'm going to share this and let's just go so we don't waste anybody's time. Here's the application. Can you see it at 100%? I'm not
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Okay, so we have the site plan. So I'm going to start here, just in the front, the beginning. So 163 Harbor Road was originally built in 1958 as a mid-century form of colonial revival. This is a style found in the first U.S. subdivision in Levittown, Long Island during that period. Research did not show how it came to Southport. except the name of a well-known architect that has designed beautiful and gracious colonial homes and additions in Southport and Fairfield. It could have been someone going to him and asking him to design and build the least expensive and mass-produced structure in the country, but we think that it doesn't really fit in, and I think we can all see that with the overall aesthetic of Southport Village. A renovation took place in 1985, creating a colonial cottage as stated on the 1985 plans. The said partial second floor and attic addition renovation is not a low-profile cape, nor is there any reference to it being a modern farmhouse anywhere but within the letters of opposition. This is just to clarify. The plan is to keep the structure a colonial cottage with a partial second floor and partial attic addition, dormers, 2/2 double hung windows and doors, with a total partial elevation of 30 feet, 10 feet below what is allowed without a variance as per zoning, all strictly adhering to HDC guidelines. These revisions simulate the amount of variant of change that happened between 1958 and 1985 versions, well within the HDC guidelines. After much consideration and many conversations and direction from local architect, zoning, HDC, you will find the proposal today are all within zoning requirements and adhere to HDC guidelines. The plans have been scaled back severely by not lifting the home. 5 feet of elevation on the entire footprint, partial decking and stairs were removed from the overall massing, now being reverted to existing conditions and adhering to HDC and zoning guidelines. Please note that by removing the original proposed lift, the now owner will incur $8,000 a year of insurance because it is not FEMA compliant. This is a non-conforming and probably, if not the lowest lot in Southport Village. The new elevation of 30 feet is well below the 40 feet as allowed per zoning. This elevation is approximately equal to the adjacent neighbor's garage roof line, not the main roof line as allowed. It is also well within this right side setback as it relates to the adjacent neighbor by varying 6 to 8 feet. Due to the land sloping, the existing house is below street level by approximately 4 feet. The prior proposal was bringing the house to street level. This proposal remains existing 4 feet lower than the street level. The view from the front door looking up, you will see a row of very large existing homes, as well as a new, very modern addition towering over those from the end of Christmas Tree Lane. If you look to the left, you will see another very large colonial with additions. If you look to the right, you will see a Tide Mill Bridge landing leading to a very large historic yet commercial Tide Mill building, as well as other commercial buildings and the post road beyond. The house that, as it exists, does not belong in the setting of very large structures. The goal is to create a small, lovely home that everyone will enjoy as part of their community, whether living here, visiting, or driving by. Here's a description of the proposed revisions. Removal and revision of prior non-compliant 1985 renovation design and materials as per suggested requirements of HDC guidelines. The reason for the partial second floor and partial attic addition is to allow for utilities and an office, as well as bringing the house to the current building code requirements. The addition and dormers are all to scale and pitch in keeping with the existing structure, past additions and dormers. Dormers allow for interior space without having to add an entire new roof line, therefore keeping the massing to a minimum. They meet the requirements of HDC guidelines. The windows and doors have been extensively researched and have been revised and are to scale according to HDC guidelines. The new center chimney emulates the existing front entrance that has now been moved. The symmetry and scale has been revised to meet HDC guidelines. The generator will be placed behind the screening and is on a platform necessary to meet FEMA requirements. It is also necessary to maintain utilities in the event of a power outage. The screening and gate meet HDC guidelines. The greatest change will be materials, all strictly adhering to HDC guidelines. New wood windows, removing existing metal storms. New wood cedar shingle roof, replacing existing asphalt. New wood decking and posts, replacing existing plastic. galvanized half-round custom gutters and downspouts, replacing existing molded aluminum. Wood garage doors, 8x8 scale to allow for actual vehicle use. Wood windows, replacing existing vinyl simulated vents. A mudroom door to allow for first floor access without having to use stairs from the garage or front door. To be painted a soft neutral shade with matching windows and trim. 3/8 native stone driveway with metal edging versus existing asphalt with grass edging, all meeting HDC guidelines. In summary, as per zoning requirements, the location of the proposed elevated partial second floor attic dormer addition is 25% less than zoning allows. 25%, I want to get you to that picture. Here you can see it. This is a colonial cottage at the neighboring garage elevation, strictly adhering to HDC guidelines and zoning requirements. At this time, I respectfully conclude the submittal of my responses and clarification of concerns. And I do thank you, HDC board members, for your knowledge, guidance, and patience. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Art, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, Adam, but I want to thank Ms. Page for a much more clearer and concise presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rosina, questions?
I do have one question. Item M in your application, it indicates possibly raise the chimney cap. Is that happening or is that not happening?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I did have to raise the chimney cap because of a window and to code. And it was also suggested by an architect, but to code to bring it away from the window a certain, I think it's 5 feet. I don't remember exactly what it is, but we did just strictly to that.
So you're raising the chimney cap, correct?
Slightly, yes.
Okay,
It's as
thank
shown.
you. Okay.
Thank you. Karen, do you have any questions?
No questions for me, but thank you for being very concise. I am not confused this time. So that's
Thank you.
appreciated.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
not
you.
either, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. Jim, do you have any questions? You're muted, Jim. You have to unmute yourself.
Might want to circle back to him, Adam.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is. George, do you have any questions? George?
Adam, can you
George,
hear
do you have
me?
any questions?
Can you
Yes,
hear
there
me?
you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
Any
Bonnie, I just
questions?
want to thank you for your presentation. It was a nice job.
Thank you.
And at this point, I don't think I have any questions.
Jim? Jim, can you figure out how to unmute yourself? Can't hear you.
I'm calling you.
Okay, well, I'll ask. So Bonnie, you said, what did you say the style of your house is? The proposed?
I'm keeping it as a colonial cottage and it has 2/2 double hung windows. And where
Okay,
where the double hung needed to be egress and I didn't have the space, their casement with a custom simulated divided double hung look, and their wood interior and exterior.
Okay. I'm not aware of the colonial style using 2/2 as
Well,
The
a
window
colonial
style?
cottage, I guess you could call it farmhouse, as we discussed some time ago.
so it's more of a farmhouse than it's more of a Victorian farmhouse. 2/2 is
Or a
more
colonial
Victorian.
farmhouse. It's
I'm
very
just
small
struggling
in
to
scale.
find what's colonial about it. I mean, it doesn't have much detail to it. There's no corner boards. There's no shutters. The front portico is very simple. It just has square posts. I'm just questioning the style. I mean, you're showing the house next door. You know, has more like 6/6 with shutters, which looks more like a colonial style.
Mm.
Um,
I was just going to
you
keep it a
said something
colonial
about the third floor.
cottage.
What did you say the third floor was meeting some sort of was you had a third floor with an office for code requirements?
A third floor for an office and basically an air handler and ductwork.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think, and you'll hear there other people have also will say the scaling of the addition is the massing is rather large compared to the existing house.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
So the massing was just reduced significantly by not lifting it. Basically 5 feet by the entire footprint of the house. So,
Yeah.
and also the roof line. So, and it's also 10 feet below anything required by zoning. And the house that's existing, as you can see, I have another picture I was actually trying to pull up that I couldn't pull up. If you look at the existing house from a street level, if I can pull it up, it's like sunken into the ground. It doesn't even look appropriate. So the massing, the way it looks now, really wish I could get this for you. Sorry, I can't.
And also, I mean, you didn't really touch on the back. You didn't say anything about the back of the house and the deck that you're doing.
I can.
You said you were replacing it, but you
No,
didn't
that's
really
okay. I
show
can
it.
if you'd like me to. Right now. Just have to pull it up again. Here we go. So, and I also just want to point out that I know each house in Southport is individual with HDC. So you can't look at it as a general Southport consensus of design, apparently. But this design really is nowhere to be found in Southport. So what I was trying to do here is make it really just a little more conducive for living and for the lot itself. Because right now, as you can see, it's really sunken in. The water's right here, very much sunken in. And by not lifting it, when I was lifting it, I was at road level. Right now I am down, the road's here. Right now it is sunken. And if you can kind of see that from the other street view. So this is the existing side view on the adjacent neighbor's side.
Yep.
And then
So just
this,
the matching of that room off the back is that much bigger. Just
well, you
because
have a
you had
roof
that,
line. All I basically did was change it to a porch versus a roof.
yeah, so it
I'm
looks
gonna
like a
sh- I'm
box
gonna
as
show you a
opposed
different
to,
vision of it. I'll show you the back.
Yeah.
So here's the back. And now it's this way. So it's basically per square foot, it's the same amount of material, it's just a different shape. And there was a dormer here. The reason being is when I did this, because I'm only 30 feet high versus a 40-foot high traditional colonial like next door, and across all and surrounding homes, all surrounding homes. From my elevation, when I look at them, they're beyond 50 feet high because of the elevation. But this is only giving me 8.5-foot ceilings on these floors. And this up here, this is giving me an 8-foot ceiling in the center. And all of this over here is 7 feet and less because of the pitch of the roof. So the square footage that I'm gaining up here is very minor, but it's needed. Because I'm not lifting it, I have to move the air handlers for the whole first floor. I have to find a place for those, and the second floor. There's just no place to put them to bring it to code and to have modern HVAC. So, I could talk about hardships all day long. I don't want to. I really this is a very simple house that with the height or the massing that you call it, I just don't see it from a zoning point of view, from an HD's point of view. This, as I said, it's 25% less than anything that zoning requires. And I know I keep going back to HDC. And I think the only thing I can go back to at this point is the recently approved 2.5-story garage on Center Street, which is also tucked down from the house. Like this is tucked down on the whole road side and the house next door. But this is the house, it's not the garage. I'm basically doing that same size as a house and nothing else. And
okay,
I
I'm not
think
sure
it's a
where you're
pretty
at on
valid
that, but
point from a massing standpoint.
well, the
I
HCC
think
guidelines suggest
I
the
realize it's a
massing, the
guideline.
basic configuration of the addition should be compatible with the proportions of the existing building, i.e. the
Correct.
ratio of height to width. Further, the addition should typically be set back from the front plane of the building, including the construction of additional stories. This will help with differentiate new construction from the existing historic structure. The addition should also respect the basic symmetrical or asymmetrical character of the original architecture. For example, Georgian or federal buildings tend towards symmetrical facades, while Victorian periods typically have clear plans of elevation. So, I mean, just looking at our guidelines in terms of how one approaches putting an addition on a house in the historic district, I don't think yours necessarily complies with that.
I think from my original plan that was lifting with a roof that everyone seemed to not appreciate. And I'm looking at the massing of the house next to me, the massive house next to me. I think what I did here, I took the exact roof line and pitch. Exactly. And lifted it to this point. So it's basically less than or about 8.5 feet if you count the floor, possibly 9 feet if you count the floor joists. Higher than what's here. If that helps. A total of 30 feet, not exceeding the neighbor's garage. So of a massing standpoint and an appropriate standpoint, it actually works better than the house that's there currently. And it's much nicer, actually, with what I had to work with the existing structure, with the existing roof line, with the existing facade, with the garage, with a lot of it. You know, I don't want to sit here and bore you with all of the comments that I have, but I know you're probably going to be reading a lot of those opposition letters that I appreciate you sharing with me this time, actually, because I did answer pretty much every one of their questions in this presentation.
Chair, and if I could just interject, in reading that paragraph regarding massing, the one key line I think in there, which I think speaks to why, it talks about the ratio of height to width and everything, is that this will help differentiate new construction from the existing historic structure. And I think as Ms. Page has kind of described this existing structure, I mean, this is not an 1820s house that that we're talking about here. So I mean that is the main driver, I think, of that language. If you had like a true historic structure, and so I think Ms. Page is, and she's correct. She's well within the zoning aspect of it. I know that that's obviously different from HDC. But she's taken a lot of care as to the massing. She's made a huge change, with how she's lowered this building.
Okay, she's still adding a third story.
Sorry, I missed that, Chair.
I said she's still adding a third story, third floor
Yes, I am.
to the house.
It's basically it's a partial third floor. So it's not the whole house. It's a partial addition to the house. It's not a full second
nobody
floor
said it was going to
addition.
be easy to work on a building in the historic district. It's definitely not easy, especially the house in this location. I think it's a tricky project. Anyway, those are my comments. Do I have any other
Thank you.
comments? Do any of the other commissioners have comments?
Adam, I have one question. This is George Clark. There's constantly a reference to zoning and zoning limits. And Bonnie, with respect to you and Chris, zoning really isn't a bearing factor. It isn't a matter of whether 40 is right and 30 is wrong. It's really a result of how the appropriateness of the house fits into the environment. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
I
I hear
can-
you.
Thank you, George.
So I would, all the reference to zoning is nice information, but really immaterial. That's a different threshold to struggle with. When you turn to the water view, I think you really see the point that Adam was making. Not that I need to speak it, but I think that the massing on that left side is quite a bit bigger. And yes, you're right. You're only adding a part of a story, but you're adding the whole floor underneath it. So really, you're adding a whole floor.
No, I'm
And-
not adding a whole floor underneath it, actually. It's partial. There's already a floor there. You can see this right here.
I know, but you're putting a floor above it, which is a partial.
This
So-
is right here. The floor, right, but there is a floor going above it.
Let me finish, please.
What
There-
a view.
there
If
was
I
a
could,
partial-
pardon
there
me?
was I'm trying here. There was a partial floor below and you raised it and put a floor underneath it. So effectively you added a floor. Yes, I understand there's a half the floor above, but it's a floor. So it is a bigger chunk to the end of the house. I get it to the neighbors. I get your other points, but I want to make that point.
Thank you. I do want to, can I make a point back to that? Just
Sure.
from the water side, because I think that's important. As I mentioned, all the surrounding buildings are at much larger scale and much larger, if you don't want to call it scale, massing. And when you look at this from the water side, you still see a very quaint and charming small home that is lovely, coming over the bridge, coming into the town with a beautiful wood roof and a soft white finish and a wood deck. And it's just so much prettier than what's there now. It's so much more appropriate to what people would want to see when expecting Southport Village and seeing Southport Village. But when you are on the water and looking at this house, what you see are all the houses up on the hill and the huge modern addition that's happening on the end of Christmas Tree Lane. And I don't even know if that's in historic or not, but it is from an historic viewpoint. If we're talking about massing, that is what you see. That's what people are looking at. People are looking at this saying, oh, lovely, how quaint, even when I'm done with this elevation. And then they're looking at everything around it that's so big. The Tide Mill building, this is going to be a softer focus. Right now, it's a bit of an eyesore, this house. And no matter what you do to it, even if I painted it white, it's still an eyesore. I'm trying to make it quaint and beautiful, like all of my houses that have all won beautiful design awards and have had numerous, and I know you're not questioning this at all, but they're in every magazine every year, every one of them. And they all say that I'm always in keeping with what the house is meant to be. Except for one that I had to tear down because of
Well, Bonnie, in this case,
environmental.
you're working in the historic district, and this you're saying it's a colonial design, and again, the windows aren't colonial. The 2/2 are not. It looks like a modern farmhouse.
It's not a modern farmhouse, Adam.
That's what it looks like
But it's not.
to me.
It is not
I
at
don't
all.
know.
You can
That's
call
my
it a
opinion.
farmhouse, but it's not a modern farmhouse. There's nothing modern about it.
I designed a modern
Unless-
farmhouse, and it looked very similar. So
You could call it a
and
mid-century modern
the other
farmhouse.
point is that it's incongruous with its surroundings.
It's what?
Incongruous with the surroundings, with the other buildings, homes on the street, across the street and next door.
All the there are 4 different architectural designs. There are 2 antiques. One's a farmhouse, one's a colonial. One is, I am not sure what it is that John and Jan live in, what that's considered or called. And then you have more of a newer colonial next to me. And then you have the Tide Mill building. And then you have the big modern up on the hill. And right
Modern's
now,
out of the
whether
dictionary.
it's different, if I could just finish, whether it's different than what's there currently is different. Completely. It's like mid-century from Levittown, Long Island. It just doesn't, this works
This
better,
one right
whether
here,
you
this
call it a
rear
farmhouse or a
elevation is-
cottage, it works better than what's there currently, in my opinion. I was going to say
You're
humble,
saying-
but it might not be humble.
This rear elevation, existing rear elevation, you're saying is a Levittown Cape? It's from
The
Levittown?
existing house originally was built as a mid-century house. No one even knows where the design came from or why it happened. And then it was converted in 1985 to what they called, somebody just named it, a colonial cottage. So if I went back, like everyone told me to do, to not change the roof line, not change the pitch. I went back and used the exact same pitch, the exact same dormer pitch, the exact same roof line, and put an attic on it for an office because I'm not lifting it and I can't use the garage as an office anymore because I do work from home. And utilities. You could call it a mid-century farmhouse, maybe. I don't know what you want to call it, but right now, that current house was a mid-century farmhouse turned colonial cottage. Mid-century modern in the neo-colonial era turned colonial cottage in 1985. So the amount of work I'm really doing in the variant of size massing is really no different than what happened between 1958 and 1985. And with really subpar materials. Right now, there's a plastic deck, there's an asphalt roof, there's plastic venting, there's aluminum extruded gutters, metal screens and storms. This is a huge improvement over what is currently there. Huge. And I'm going to stop right there.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
Yes,
And you're entitled to it.
thank you.
Our job is to make sure it's appropriate in this context of the historic district. And I'm just telling you, you know, the style that you're presenting, the windows themselves aren't colonial.
Adam, I want to ask you a question about that, if you don't mind. So the windows, when we met for 3 hours on site with my original plan of lifting it,
Yep.
I brought the plan with backups. As you know, these weren't my original windows. These were my backup windows. I originally had 2/2 windows, but then I had 1/1 doors. And I had a larger front door. And I'm like, I can do this, I can do this. I was really trying to just accommodate HDC. And then there was the size. But at the time, in that 3-hour, very cold meeting with 4 different sets of people, which I completely appreciate you doing. I had no idea it was that extensive. If I did, I don't think I would have put you all through that. That was a big deal. And there was a lot of feedback that day. And I took every bit of that feedback from my first set of plans and changed them, revised them before I submitted it. And at that time, 2/2 windows were okay. We all kind of liked them. It was fine. The mass of the roof, and a lot of people had a very hard time getting over the mass of lifting it, which I've since removed. The mass of the roof line I changed because that's what was suggested, that it should match and be sympathetic to the existing roof line, which I changed. The cable wiring was too extensive on the second floor, which I changed. Everything that was stated, and then we came back and I presented the house. And it was knocked down only because from the neighbors, right? Massing, they didn't understand it. And I was very much caught off guard because I didn't have these letters up front. Because if I did, I probably would have withdrawn my application and done something similar to this to appease everyone. I am not really here to appease all of the neighbors. I'm here to get this accurate, beautiful, historically guided home done and approved and built. I've really gone beyond, especially after the consultations that we've had, and with architects, and abiding by everyone neighbor's request, basically, which is a little much.
Okay. Well then, is there anything else? Okay, we
Not
do
for
have some
me.
letters to read. We do have some letters to read into the record. Darren, do you mind reading yours first? I think we have 8 or
Not
9
a
letters.
problem. Yeah, I have 3. Let me just pull them up so I
Sure.
can see them. Okay, so first one, it has come to my attention that you will be hearing the applicant redesign for 163 Harbor Road on January 11th. First, I want to express my thanks to the owner for the effort she has made to redesign the plans, which clearly show some improvements. However, I still have some objections. The 3rd story adds overall bulk to the building that is not appropriate for the size of the lot. The windows and wire cable railings give a contemporary and industrial look to the house, which is not appropriate for the historic district. I feel the owner should be comparing her plans to the current house and not to the other houses in the neighborhood. This is a difficult lot to build on, and changes to the house should have similarities to the existing house in size and scale. The various roof lines, as seen from the bridge, are a hodgepodge of angles and are aesthetically objectionable. Also, as the adjoining neighbor, 187 Harbor Road, I am very concerned about the setback requirements on our common property line with the enlargement of the patio. Lastly, and perhaps the most important, I want to thank the members of the Historic District Commission for their efforts to keep Southport a charming village reflecting its history. Thank you, Betsy Bradley. That was received yesterday at 10:43 a.m. The second letter was received on January 7th in the afternoon. Dear Adam and Historic District Commission, thank you for your review of the revised application for 163 Harbor Road. We appreciate the improvements visible in the new plans, but still have questions and oppose the application. We also write to support letters from our neighbors who oppose the new plans, as well as the letter from John Wynn and Jan Carpenter, who raised valid concerns and suggestions for consideration. I served on the Historic District Commission in Wilton before we moved to Southport in 2008. We live at 211 Harbor Road. Proposed front elevation view from Harbor Road. Height and scale of proposed right side of new front elevation is overwhelming to the existing structure. Per HDC guidelines, new additions should be more diminutive and defer to the existing structure, in this case, a lovely understated low profile 1958 cape. A second front door entry has been added, as has a second chimney and dormer. New shingled roof is added above the front door entry on the right side. New window and garage door proportions are questionable. The harmony of the front elevation of the original structure is lost. Proposed rear elevation view from the water. Mass, height, and scale of new roof and dormer on left is overwhelming. Addition of 3rd floor on left is not in keeping with the original 2-story structure. Variety of window styles and proportions is overwhelming and differs greatly from the harmony of the windows on the original structure. What appear to be 2nd floor porches or decks in the middle of the proposed rear elevation are boxy and not in keeping with the original structure. Decks appear to have cabling versus the wood railings on the existing structure. Proposed right elevation. Raised roof line, height, mass, and addition of 3rd floor is overwhelming and not in keeping with HDC guidelines. Deck appears to have cabling versus wood railings on existing structure. Proposed left elevation. The raised roof line, height, and addition of 2 new dormers and another chimney and the bumped out new front door entry are overwhelming. The harmony of the existing left elevation of the structure is lost. The proposed house for 163 Harbor Road has been referred to as a modern farmhouse, a popular and plentiful style in nearby Fairfield, Westport, and elsewhere. Popularity of an architectural trend is not a relevant factor, especially in a historic district. We are fortunate to have the HD Handbook, a comprehensive and helpful guide offering homeowners in our historic district essential information. The handbook mentions the rarity and significance of Cape-style homes. Pages 67 to 68 refer to scale, massing, detailing, and windows. We could go on. Thanks again for your attention to our comments about this application for 163 Harbor Road, located in an exposed and prominent location next to the Tide Mill at the gateway to Southport's Historic District. Beth, Cynthia, and Michael Crawford, 211 Harbor Road, Southport, Connecticut, 06890. And then the last one I have was received on Monday, January 8th, from Alana and Kyle Griswold. Dear HDC, after reviewing the revised plans for 163 Harbor Road, we remain in opposition of the design. We know firsthand that it is possible to preserve Southport's historic district charm with thoughtful, appropriate remodels in accordance with the HDC handbook. We have done this for nearly 2 years in our historic home, making it comfortable for modern living while keeping the outside in lockstep with the rest of the village and the original house itself. We enhanced, not changed, the outside of our home with a new wood shingle roof, new copper chimney flashing and copper gutters, new windows and doors, new light fixtures, new driveway, new landscaping, new fence, and fresh paint. The inside was gutted. We have lived this experience to confidently say it is possible to be respectful of one's community while improving one's home. There have been plenty of very extensive remodels, rebuilds, renovations, etc. in the village, all adhering to the rules of our special district. This should be no exception, as it has been proven time and time again that it is possible to be done properly in the many examples around the neighborhood. For brevity's sake, we refer to the letters sent in by Cynthia Crawford and John Wynn, as they make solid points about the reasons why the revised design is not appropriate for the historic district of Southport. We would be happy to share the information of the architects and builder we used for our project with the owner of 163 Harbor Road, should they find it helpful in finding a beautiful design that meets the criteria laid out in the HDC handbook. We truly want a happy outcome for everyone. Thank you for your continued work on keeping our town so uniquely beautiful. Once it's gone, we won't be able to get it back. Regards, Alana and Kyle Griswold, 298 Harbor Road, Southport, Connecticut, 06890. Those were my three, Adam.
Okay, thank you, Darren. Next letter is from Sean and Megan Kelly to the Historic District Commission. We greatly appreciate the excellent work of the Historic District Commission in maintaining the high standards of architectural aesthetics that the Village of Southport deserves. As residents of 204 Harbor Road, we feel that the updated application regarding 163 Harbor Road, despite the design revisions, is still an issue for us, as it is for the surrounding neighbors. We offer our support to the letters written by Jan Carpenter and John Wynn, Alana and Kyle Griswold, Catherine and Graham Nix, and Cynthia and Michael Crawford. Their letters have gone into depth on the details that concern all of us. We agree with their perspectives and recommendations. We are equally eager for further examination and clarification and additional revision to this updated application. In particular, what's especially significant about 163 Harbor Road is that it is effectively the gateway to Southport Village. Traveling from Fairfield, drivers, bicyclists, joggers, and pedestrians who are either longtime residents, frequent visitors from nearby neighborhoods, or tourists arriving in the village for the first time will gain their initial impression of the district by crossing the Tide Mill Bridge. Amateur and professional photographers take countless pictures of the river, harbor, and adjacent homes from this vantage point. The property immediately in front of those individuals is 163 Harbor Road. For this reason, it is essential that any changes to this property be appropriate and respectful to the historic character of our unique locale. With its high visibility, this property sets the tone for the village, and so it should also set and maintain the highest standard. Thank you very much again for your excellent work and for your consideration. Best wishes, Sean and Megan Kelly, 204 Harbor Road. The next letter is from Catherine Graham Nix. Dear Historic District Commission, we live across the street, 160 Harbor Road, and are writing again to express concern and opposition to the revised plans at 163 Harbor Road. We support the letters written by our neighbors, including John Wynn and Jan Carpenter and Cynthia and Michael Crawford. Thank you for your continued attention to the plans for 163 Harbor Road. That's Catherine and Graham Nix, 160 Harbor Road, Southport. This is from Alice E. Stokes, 37 Christmas Tree Lane, Southport. Once again, I agree with the critical points made by Ms. Bradley, Griswold, and Mr. Nguyen. Furthermore, in reviewing the latest proposal by Ms. Page, I submit my latest observations. The three-story addition speaks to the issue of mass. Again, I ask that polls be required by the HDC to get the full impact of the new building on its site. The additional expanded construction to the existing house, including expanded decks on the water side, will increase the mass and lot coverage by how much? The many bump outs created by the addition, the two dormers result in too many roof lines as seen from the proposed left elevation. They're reminiscent of a large bird's flapping wings. There's too much going on. Unfortunately, this viewpoint will be dramatically exposed as well as they cross the Tide Mill Bridge and come to the stop sign at the corner of Harbor Road and River Street for a longer view of this house. Furthermore, what is the name of this historical architectural design this page is submitting? Will the generator, which is located on the south side of the property, be behind the garden gate and in an enclosure? What is the swing gate's historical reference? Its picture shows that it is devoid of any historical reference except for the sober and simplicity of the granite slabs of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. Where are the downspouts, if any? Windows, I question the choice proposed of the bronze shadow boxes. This creates a more industrial look. In addition, the warm edge spacers are black. What about white to diminish the industrial factory look? Since Ms. Page painted the garage black on her house on Willow Street, is there a provision in the HDC handbook preventing this from being done to 163 Harbor Road? Unfortunately, when one lops off parts of a building and readjusts for new outcroppings, the end result is not harmonious. 163 Harbor Road has most of its mass looming on the right side of its structure. A successful architectural design should exhibit harmony of the styles and harmony with place. Stay the course and again deny the application not based on just a few issues, but because of the entirety of its design. Kind regards, Alice Stokes. This is from John Nguyen and Jan Carpenter, January 5th, 2024. Members of the Historic District Commission. Thank you for your commission. Thank you to the Commission for your continued diligence and service to maintaining the town's historic districts and properties. We are property owners at 144 Harbor Road, which is directly across the street from the subject application. The most recent application has made some beneficial changes from the prior submission. Thank you to the owner and Commission for heeding the suggestions and observations provided as part of the prior meeting. It is an improvement. An experience review and consideration by the HDC of potential additional changes to achieve better alignment with the objective of historic appropriateness for this site and part of this district is possible. This would allow the proposed structure to achieve the objectives of the current owner, yet present an improved historic fit. We will identify below some areas of consideration, yet defer to the experience and professional expertise of the Commission in providing potential adjustments that are historically appropriate and architecturally achievable. A layman's view of the proposed design shows a sort of modern farmhouse feel that doesn't seem to appear anywhere in the district. Our understanding of the HDC guidelines is that architecture can be new, but should be appropriate, in keeping with the architecture that appeared during historic periods. This new proposal appears modern and therefore might not meet those standards. Front elevation, right side continues to have added massing that overwhelms the existing structure. An overlay of the proposed over the existing shows an entire roof mass, which almost eclipses the existing right side of the structure. Per HDC guidelines, new additions should be more diminutive and defer to the existing structure. Rather, this new massing seems to entirely overcome the existing structure. Front elevation. Windows on the main floor to right of new front doors seem to be visually too large and out of proportion to the other windows on the entirety of the front elevation. We have not specifically measured, but this seems to be the case. Rear elevation. The new roof massing and dormer on the left side of for this elevation, as viewed from the water side, appears to be overpower the existing structure and introduces a significant addition of massing to the structure from this vantage point. Rear side elevation, the new massing above the existing structure overcomes this viewpoint. This is also visible by doing an overlay of the existing and proposed structure. Right side elevation, the two right windows on the proposed elevation appear to be out of proportion to the size of the windows on the second floor front elevation. Right side elevation, we are not familiar enough with building or zoning requirements regarding the placement of the generator pad. We urge a review of requirements for placement near structural windows and also property line setbacks to the issue of noise and emission restrictions. A review of this issue at this point may prevent rework at a future point in time. Generally, a lowering of the height of the roof line on the proposed addition might be possible, which would serve to reduce the massing of the addition from the front, rear, and side elevations. Additionally, a lowering of the size of the new rear dormer may allow the dormer roof line angle to be reduced with the reduction in its massing. Both such changes might be able to be done while maintaining the owner's desire for additional function for that area of the property. Improvements. We are not skilled enough to propose any specifics for this regard, yet an informal discussion might point to the type of modifications to the proposal which would achieve a reduction of the supplemental scale and massing to a point where the proposal would achieve the historically appropriate fit for modifications to this location in the district. Thank you for listening and for your difficult work. Sincerely, John Wynn and Jen Carpenter, 144 Harbor Road, Southport. I did receive 2 letters supporting this page. The first one is from an anonymous source who wished not to be mentioned. As a resident of Fairfield and former resident of Southport, I've had the privilege to know Bonnie Page and her work for the past 15 years. Within that time frame and previous projects, I've had the opportunity to tour her firm's work and found it has consistently exhibited the utmost care and sympathetic attention to the nuances of building and renovating within a historic area, and specifically Southport. From my experience, she has always been the utmost champion of Southport, its heritage and aesthetics. She has always remained adamant about the importance of maintaining a respect for the character of the town of Southport and its architectural significance and appearance. With over 40 years of experience in design in New York City and Fairfield County, there are few people I have encountered who have achieved a high level of taste, refinement, and skill nuance reflected within their design talent as Bonnie Page. Having reviewed the plans for 163 Harbor in the Historic District Commission Handbook, I believe the proposed plans reflect this high level of design and are entirely sympathetic to the nature and design of the existing structure and consistent with the suggested guidelines outlined by the HDC Handbook. From review and my familiarity with the town of Southport, I find that the plans draw inspiration from the current residents and reflect the character of the town and its evolving sensibilities. In addition, I find the proposed plans visually represent a vast improvement reflected in an aesthetically appropriate design over the existing residence. On further review of the guidelines within the Historic Commission Handbook, I also found that the proposed residential structure for 163 Harbor appears to be below the height variance for allowable or acceptable elevations, which are outlined within the guidelines of the HDC Handbook, thus showing respect in intention for the site. As a parent, neighborhood, building materials, vistas, and the perspective are firmly melded within the design concept for the proposed residence and clearly based upon the current residence. Overall, the proposed construction plans for 163 Harbor Road far surpass numerous structures currently within the historic district confines of both recent and past construction, and will be an asset to the overall streetscape. In closing, the Historic District Commission Review Board, I assure you that you can put your full trust in the work of Bonnie Page, an attribute to the town, and only add to its impressive collection of residences within its confines. From Anonymous. I have three. Two that may concern. This is from Kelly Resnikoff. I am writing to express my support for Bonnie Page's renovation plans for the property located at 163 Harbor Road in Southport. I am a client of Bonnie's. I hired her to do a complete renovation and interior design to my home in Easton several years ago. Her professionalism, expertise, work ethic, and design talent are unparalleled. Everything Bonnie works on is stunning and casually elegant. Bonnie adheres to all guidelines required by the community in which she is working. In my home, she worked seamlessly with the town of Easton to secure all necessary permits required to renovate my home and install a beautiful in-ground pool. Bonnie has built and earned remarkable relationships with contractors. This is one of her many notable strengths. She provides them detailed plans, support, and respect, and her clients reap the rewards of jobs done cleanly, quickly, and on budget. All work done at my house took place during normal business hours, and due to the skill of her contractors, were completed in a timely manner. In fact, Bonnie managed to have my entire kitchen gutted and redone to perfection while my family was away on vacation. Her timeliness and budgets can be trusted. Many neighbors and friends have complimented us on the beautiful job Bonnie did on our home, both inside and out. Her designs are timeless and add classic character and beauty to any project she works on. I have no doubt the renovation on the home at 163 Harbor Road will be a gorgeous and pleasing addition to the character of the neighborhood. Sincerely, Kelly Resnikoff, Easton, Connecticut. This is from Jessica McManus. Dear Historic Society, I'm writing to express my enthusiastic support for Bonnie Page's upcoming construction project on Harbor Road. Having had the opportunity to review the plans for the new house, I'm confident that the design is not only aesthetically pleasing, but also respectful of the historic character of our neighborhood. Bonnie has always done beautiful and tasteful work in our community. I believe that the addition of this thoroughly designed house will not only enhance the overall appeal of the neighborhood, but also contribute by keeping with the appropriate feel of the historic district. I wholeheartedly support my neighbor's endeavor and hope that the Historic Society will share in this sentiment. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Jessica McManus, 1088 Harbor Road. Those are all the letters I have to read. Does anyone in the public care to speak in favor of this application? Please raise your hand. Would anyone care to speak against this application? Okay. Fine. Do you have any other?
No, thank you. And the
Putting up your thumb.
nice comments were more than welcome.
Oh, okay. So, and the hearing is closed. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Have a nice night. Thank you for your time again.
Okay. Next item on the agenda. Harry and Shelley Weiner, 825 Harbor Road, Southport, property located at 825 Harbor Road in Southport for A, replace living room windows, and B, hood vent. Is someone here representing?
Adam, Jack Franzen here. Can you
Hi,
hear
Jack.
me?
Yes.
I'm going to turn up my volume because it's a little light on my side. Good evening. I'm here to represent Harry Weiner and Shelley Weiner on this application. And this property is interesting. It's at the location of the old Meeker warehouses, which were at the corner of what is now Westway and Harbor Road. Westway used to be called Main Street and Harbor was called Water Street. There's nothing much left on the outside of the Meeker warehouses, but if you go in the cellar of the current house, there is some of the foundation still there. And the house was built, well, the house that you see was really built in the mid-90s. It was a major renovation designed by Ben Baker for the Smith family. And what we're proposing is some changes on the water side, the east side of the property. On that side of the house, there's a covered porch, which is the extension of a gable that runs all the way from Harbor Road. You can see here, there's a sort of a main gable.
How are you,
There's the,
Jack, your drawings?
Yep. What's that?
I can't, we can't see your drawings.
Okay, let me see here. The graphics are a little different on WebEx this year.
Yeah.
You see the drawings now?
Not yet.
It says I'm sharing my screen, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's sharing something, but it's blank.
Really? Okay. Yeah, it's right. Everything's on my desktop right where it should be, and it's not, I guess it's not showing up on your end.
No.
Okay. Try it one more time. Can you see the drawings now?
No.
No. Adam, is it possible for you to put them up? I apologize,
Yeah.
but it's very strange
Yeah,
because
no,
the graphics are saying that I'm sharing. And
You see it?
yes. Yeah, if you could scroll down to the site plan. That's where I was starting out. So this is actually a really old site plan, but it's pretty accurate. You can see where Harbor Road, this is sort of where the intersection is with Westway. There's this main gable that runs east-west. And as the cable reaches the harbor, it gets kind of hollowed out. And if you could scroll down a little bit, there you go. So that cable gets hollowed out, and it ends up being on the lower level. There's a workshop that's actually in the flood zone. That's all underwater in a flood. But there's like an unheated workshop down here on the lower level. And then above that, there's a covered deck that sticks out about 10 feet from the house. Above that, there's a little crow's nest balcony off the master bedroom. And what we're proposing is to replace the 3 double hung windows that are behind this carved out facade with a single sash, which will be right in the middle of the opening that is the largest of the 3 openings. And that space is about, I don't know, 10 feet deep. It's an outdoor sitting area. And what this window will do, it'll kind of bring that experience inside the living room. That's the space that's behind the window. The sash will be insulated glass. It's going to be all wood. The trim and the surrounding sill material will all be wood. There's another part of this application, which is on the other side. You could keep scrolling down. And that gives you a good idea. There you go, right there, the top picture right there, it shows there's an existing hood vent on the west side of the house. We want to replace it with a new hood vent. And the reason we want to is there's a 180-degree turn in this hood. The exhaust goes up and then it goes out and then it goes down. So it's really not a recommended way to vent a range. We want to replace it with a copper hood vent that will be about even with the top of the existing windows on that elevation on the first floor. I think we have a picture of it. If you keep scrolling. There you go. And that's what it's going to look like. It won't be in brick. It'll be in the shingles the way you see them now. And those are the two things I have to present. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Rosina, questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Karen, question?
Thanks, Jack. No questions for me.
Jim, questions? Jim?
You're muted, Jim.
Yeah.
George, do you have any questions?
No questions, Jack. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Art, questions?
None for me, thanks.
Okay, I don't have any questions either. And Jim? We can get Jim.
Jim is.
Hi, this is Jack Imes. Jim, look on the bottom of your screen. There should be a button that says unmute to the left. That's how it looks on my screen. I'm going to go back on.
I know Jim is familiar with this.
Yeah, we've been down this.
Yeah, not his first rodeo.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
The problem is, I think WebEx has the slightly different things going on in 2024 because I'm having trouble with the graphics, which normally work very well.
Yeah. I did not receive any, and I don't have any questions. I did not receive any letters in favor of this application. I did not receive any letters opposing this application. And does anyone in the public like to speak in favor of this application or? And would anyone like to speak against this application? No. Okay, so the hearing's closed. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is Jarrett and Christine Ford, 46 Station Street in Southport, for property located at 46 Station Street in Southport, for A, replace cinder block and blue stone steps with granite curbing steps. There's someone here to represent Ford's.
Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Windsor.
Hi, Paul.
Hi. So I'm going to be representing Jarrett and Christine Ford, 46 Station Street. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge that we are potentially in violation for the application now being presented. We are applying for a certificate of appropriateness for the change to the steps leading from the driveway to the pathway to the front of the house. And this pathway is the Ford's main access to the house from the driveway, and it's used multiple times daily by the Fords and their guests. Mrs. Ford's parents, who frequently visit, are elderly and were unable to navigate the pre-existing conditions. And Mrs. Ford, who was pregnant through late 2023, has just given birth. So we'll now be carrying an infant from house to driveway and driveway to house. The pre-existing steps were bluestone on a cinder block base. The base had sunk on one side and the shallow steps were also really slippery when wet. The accompanying path of rustic
Excuse me.
fieldstone. Yeah.
Paul, can you share the your application?
I'm going to try, Adam. This is my first shot with WebEx, so I'm not
Okay.
totally sure I know how to do it, but let me give it one shot and see.
All right, I can do it if you have trouble.
Yeah.
You should have it open before you try and share it. And
Yeah, I
then-
have it. I have the file open. I have it on my desktop here. And
You
when I
should be
go
able
to
to find it.
share, hold on, give me a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to. I'm going to have to quit. It's a system permission that I have to set up, and it wants me to quit the app.
Oh.
So I'm not going to be able to do that. If you could share for me, that would be great.
You see it?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, so there's the location on the driveway. And the next slide will show a view from Station Street, pre-existing. Obviously, that view changes as the seasons change, but there's the old steps. That is what is there now that we replaced them with. And there is a current view from Station Street. And if I can, I'd like to go back to my script.
Okay.
So as I said, those pre-existing steps were bluestone on a cinder block base, and the base had sunk on one side. They're shallow, and they were just super slippery, pretty much all the time, but especially when wet. And that accompanying path that runs up to the house was also in bad repair and in need of attention. The stones were uneven, poorly spaced, and some were too small to navigate safely. But we obtained a repair order from you to lift those stones and reset them, replacing the small, uneven and/or broken stones with a few larger and flatter stones of the same material. During that repair work, the hazardous issue of the steps was evident, so we went ahead and replaced them with those reclaimed granite curb blocks, which are simply stacked on each other, and they're on a bed of stone dust. There's no cement, they're just stacked stones. Those current stones now provide a safe access off the driveway, and the color and texture blends with the aesthetic of the fieldstone path and the pre-existing granite cobbles that line the driveway. As soon as we were aware that we were possibly in violation, we acted to gain appropriate approval, and we'd like to apologize for any alarm that our inadvertent action has caused. We acknowledge that the commission doesn't take plants and planting into consideration for appropriateness. However, I just would like to add that given the chaotic nature of the severely overgrown and neglected landscape, which is evident from those images provided, and our intention to replant comprehensively, the fact that the pre-existing steps were so obscured from view really contributed to our oversight. And lastly, we'd like to say that the larger project here is the restoration of a historic garden. With the original plan of the garden as our guide, which the Fords fortunately found in the house, our intention is to honor the legacy of the garden originally created by the late Albert Hadley, but in a manner that makes it practical and enjoyable for the Ford family. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Karen, do you have any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you for the presentation.
George, questions?
Thank you very much for your presentations, and I have no questions.
Thank you. Jim, do you have any questions?
Is he even here?
Okay, Jim is not able to join us. Art, do you have any questions?
No questions, Adam.
Okay, Rosina, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, and I do not have any questions. Did not receive any letters in favor of this application. I did not receive any letters opposing this application. Would anyone from the public like to speak in favor? Would anyone from the public like to speak in opposition? All right, so the hearing's closed. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Carrie and Dan Wilson, 14 Willow Street, a property located at 14 Willow Street, Southport. For A, replace existing AZAC steps with wooden steps. B, add bluestone pavers adjacent to existing landing. C, stepping stone garden. D, circular fieldstone border with native gravel in rear seating area. And E, raised stone seating and edging in rear seating area.
Hi, I'm Regina O'Brien of Threshold Landscape Architecture. I've been working with the homeowner at 14 Willow Street, and tonight want to review the three proposed areas where we would like to do some masonry and hardscape work. So I will attempt to share my screen and see if I have luck with that tonight.
Okay.
It wants my password, which I don't have in front of me. Okay, I didn't. Try one more time. Okay, Adam, I think I have to ask you for my help as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so if we can start with the overall site plan. The first area is at the very front porch, where there are existing AZAC or plastic steps, and we would like to replace those with mahogany steps. There are 2 treads. The length would remain the same as what's there now, but the existing depth of the treads is only 10 inches, so we want to increase that to 13 inches to make it more ergonomic. And the other issue that we want to address at the front, and perhaps you can scroll down to the precedent images. I have the photo of the existing front, where there's a beautiful large piece of bluestone that serves as a landing now, but it is not aligned with the steps or the entry path. So to resolve that, we're suggesting adding bluestone around that existing large piece and creating a more functional and elegant sort of landing, so that as you step off the porch, there's a little bit more room to navigate. And likewise, when coming up the path, it's more inviting. So that would be natural cleft bluestone that would be added and resolve the misalignments there. And then if we can go back to the site plan, the second area is, yes, there, it's an area, a space that's lawn at this time. It sits between the existing bluestone terrace and the mature hornbeam hedge. And we would like to make a perennial garden in that space and incorporate bluestone paving stones staggered as a way of getting through that garden. And again, if you can go down to the precedent images, there's a view taken, the photograph shows a view from Willow Street, and just on the other side of that hornbeam hedge is where this garden would be. And the illustration shows the concept with the plants. To the right, the photos of the bluestone kind of convey somewhat of the feeling we're trying to accomplish there with the bluestone integrated with plants, although the photos are a more dense installation of bluestone than we would have. And then the third change in masonry we want to include in the property is in the rear back corner. Again, the photograph shows a view from Willow Street in the bottom left-hand corner there. And at the very back of the property, actually behind the mature tree trunks, is this space. The family uses this right now for a gathering area around a solo fire stove. And it's lawn right now, so it gets very muddy. And the fact that it's also beneath these mature trees is shady, so it doesn't look or feel very good right now. So we want to replace the lawn with masonry. The diameter of that circle is about 16 feet wide. And the concept is to create a circle, a border of fieldstone laid flush at the front of the space, infilled with native gravel. And then as this circle winds around toward the back, we want to include some larger stones that get taller as you reach the back, which would allow some people to sit and importantly to invite the children to play, as kids always love to step up and jump off of stones in that sort of setting. So that is the extent of the changes we are looking to make.
Okay, thank you. First, George, any questions?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. Jim, we'll give you another opportunity. You have any questions? Yeah, I mean, we can't hear you.
He's not even on the video according to the screen.
I see him.
Yeah, I see
Oh,
him.
he's there?
Yeah.
Oh, he wasn't there the last presentation.
I think he hears us. He just can't talk to us.
Yeah, for some reason you can't unmute. Anyway, Art, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, Rosina
No questions. Thank you.
and Darren.
No questions, thank you.
All right. I do not have any questions either. I did not receive any letters in favor of this application, and I did not receive any letters opposing this application. Would anyone from the public like to speak in favor? Would anyone from the public like to speak in opposition? Okay, no. So the hearing's closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is David and Tina Montani, 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield for a new two-story addition to rear of previously approved dwelling, and B, new dormer on rear of previously approved dwelling. There's someone here to represent
Yes, Chair,
Montani's.
Commissioners, Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC, offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield, here on behalf of the applicant. Let me just see if I can share my screen to pull up the plans here. 1 second.
I'll be recusing myself on this application, just since I've done
Okay.
it in the past, or I've been asked to do it in the past, so.
Thank you, Rosina.
Okay, sorry about that. I think this should be up now. Okay,
Yeah.
so for again here for the applicant for a small addition that's located on the rear of the dwelling. I'm sure all of you remember this property. There was an extensive amount of hearings about the design of this building. It's a new construction house on a lot that is vacant, did not have a house on it. And so you may recall this property, it's a fully conforming property, but it is oddly shaped. And as you can see, from the site plan, after we had received approval and started getting, further along with building plans, my client explored an opportunity to add some square footage to the house, help with the flow of the building, and consulted with me regarding the zoning regulations, and we sought a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals to add. Let me see if I could zoom in. Closer here. Okay, so as you can see back here with the red dashed line, that is the zoning setback. And so we asked for a small variance and were granted a small variance to be permitted to have a two-story bump out, essentially, from the plans that were originally approved by the HDC. It's an addition that is not visible from the public way as defined under your handbook. You can see Old Post Road right here. It's not visible from that property, from the property line of the public way where it abuts it. And it's really just a small little bump out addition. Doesn't add any massing to the front of the dwelling, or from what you could see from the Old Post Road that abuts the site. Just to show you in comparison to what was previously approved. Sorry, I got to zoom out here. So this on the left is the approved first floor plan, and on the right is the plan we're proposing for the first floor. You can see we kind of try to dash it out here. This portion that's new, that's added, just an expansion of the family room area here on the first floor. And just moving over, a few feet, 6 feet really, to the right of what there is existing. Again, it's at the rear. And then This is the second floor. So you could see the left is the approved second floor plan. The right is the proposed second floor plan. Again, just a small bump out there that's not visible from Old Post Road at the front of the property, and includes allows for a laundry area on the second floor. On the elevations, left side, you can see this is the approved side elevation. This is on the right is the proposed. Again, this demonstrates that with the addition, you don't see any additional massing from Old Post Road at the front of the property. This is the comparison between the front elevations looking from the Old Post Road. And you can see there's no additional massing there as well. And then finally, the rear elevation, where you could see this bump out here. And the side elevation from the other side, where you can see a difference here, but really not much of a change from what was existing there previously. And that's really it. It's fairly straightforward. It's a small bump out from what was previously approved before this commission. It received all the necessary variances to be able to do so. And so just seeking your approval for this. I think it's a 6 by, let me get the length on it, very minimal addition to the building. So Brian St. Pierre, who's the architect on this project, is on the line. He's here to answer any questions you may have. But fairly straightforward. And it's a 6 by 12 foot addition from what was previously before this board. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. So to be clear, the side elevation is visible from the Old Post Road?
It's visible from the part of Old Post Road that
It's visible from the it's visible. So I mean, to say that it's not visible is misleading.
Yeah, but you're
100%
but Chair,
visible.
under your regulations, I mean, I'll read the regulations.
I don't
Just
need you to read the
give me a
regulations.
second
to that.
here.
I'm pretty sure I'm aware of what's visible and what's not visible.
But it does state,
it
does define
I
public,
can see, Chris, I can see the entire side of the neighbor's house from the Post Road.
but not from the portion of the Old Post Road that abuts this property. And the regulations specifically state the public way means any public street, road, or right of way extending up to any portion of the property line for the property that's involved in an application. So the clear meaning
from a
of the
public
language
way.
in that regulation is that it has to extend up to the property line of the property that's involved. If it abutted a park,
you're saying it's limited to the front property line?
it's limited to the front property line. It would be different,
No.
like for instance, if
Okay, I'm not going to argue this, Chris. But that's not true.
but
So
Chair,
you can try and
want to make,
pretend that that's the language, but that's not the case.
but I mean,
so
but Chair, I do
moving
want
on.
to put onto the, I just want to put on the record there, Chair, that is the
That it's
language
not
verbatim
that it is
from
visible from a public way.
from the regulation, and that there would be a difference if it abutted a public park. Your regulation does say that public parks, if there was a public park that was abutting it, that would be considered, or if it abutted like a waterway, like Southport Harbor, like we were talking about earlier. It does allow in those situations, but as far as public streets, it says that it has to extend up to any portion of the property line.
Can I just ask a quick question? What regulation are you referring, our handbook or?
Yeah, and on page 2 in the first paragraph.
But the state statute says any public way, street or place, just in general. It doesn't talk about abutting the property line or anything. It's public way, street or place in the state statute.
The definition that I've seen in the state statute, and then that's, again, I'm just reading
Okay,
the
well,
regulation
this
verbatim.
is really irrelevant. I mean, I just wanted to clarify that for you because you kept saying that it's not visible, but it is. My other question before I pass this on to the other commissioners, is the foundation already poured?
I have not visited the site. I don't know if Brian's on where they are with the,
Well,
with
can we
the,
ask, can you ask Brian? I mean, you're supposed to get a variance before you come to us. I mean, that's standard.
Right,
I don't
but
know if that was the
but that was
intention,
just
because I don't
something
think you were going to come back to us, but
we decided to go for the variance when we looked at the building plans, and again, my client consulted with me and said, do you think this is a variance that we would
which
be
is
able to
fine.
obtain?
Fine,
And so we went and we obtained the variance.
which you would have to do before you come to us to get approval for the addition anyway. I mean, but I'm just
Right.
curious if the foundation for this addition has already been poured.
Chair,
Can we get
I'm not
Brian?
sure.
Chair, this is Brian St. Pierre from Insight Design. Yeah, I think I know the forms were put up. I do not know, again, once we were alerted that we needed to come back to do they were doing. I know the forms were up. I'm not 100% sure if the concrete was poured or not, but I can follow.
Okay. I drove by there the other day. It looked like concrete was poured, but I could be wrong. I didn't stop and look.
May have.
Anyway.
Like I said, I know that they stopped immediately as soon as we found out that we were going to come back in front of you guys for the addition.
Okay.
When we went,
Yeah.
and again, this gets back to this argument, Chair, when we talked with the zoning department, and we obtained the variance approval, because I think they interpret the regulations as I just did. They did not think we needed any further
Right.
approvals.
Really? Because you told them it wasn't visible?
It's not because it's not visible from the public way as read in the definition.
I mean, to be clear, Chris, I mean, if it's not visible, I mean, we make that determination, you don't. And I had to sign off on that. So even if it wasn't visible, there's still a process that has to be, and I'm surprised that you don't know that. I'm surprised that Brian is, honestly, I'm kind of baffled. After all that you guys have gone through to get this thing approved, to put an addition on before it was even built and not get approval from us, I think is kind of strange. But anyway, let's, moving on. Art, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, Rosina's recused. Darren, do you have any questions?
No, I do think it is visible. But there's a couple of things that I noted in the plans, and Adam, I don't know how this works because they're not part of this application, but there are some changes in the windows in the kitchen and the master bedroom, and some windows that have been removed. So there are changes to the other elevations that are in those plans that have not been included in the application.
Okay, well, if that's the case, and they do build it, they build it in a way that's not conforming to what was approved, then they will be issued violations and they'll have to come in and get approvals.
Right, but just to be clear, the elevations that we're submitting in connection with this application are the ones we are proposing to build. So if there was an approval granted tonight, it would be the elevations that you see that are proposed here.
But so the problem is
Yeah.
that it's not noticed appropriately because it was noticed, let me see. It was noted for new two-story addition to the rear of the previously approved dwelling and a new dormer on the rear of the previously approved dwelling. It doesn't make any mention of the two extra master bedroom windows and the window in the kitchen that changes from a single window to a tripartite window or a 3-window unit. So those are ones that I just noticed. And then there's on one of the elevations on the side, there's windows that have been removed. So there are things that look different that haven't been noticed, and that would be a problem just on our end
Yes, correct.
because it wasn't
Darren,
publicly noticed.
Darren, we're not voting on any of those changes then.
No, I know.
mean-
I'm just making a comment that there are other
Okay.
changes that haven't been approved. It looks
Yeah.
like. I'm just making
Well,
that
okay.
comment. That's why I have no other questions
Okay.
about.
Well, I think now they're aware of that.
I don't think that creates a notice issue from a notice issue point of view. I mean, I think the property is cited and that there's proposed revisions to the plans. I think that's all that's required from a notice point of view on an agenda.
Chris, if you're not calling out what changes you're making to the structure, and you make changes that we're not unaware of, then that's a problem. Those are unapproved changes. That includes windows. So right now we're considering the addition that you're putting on and the dormer, and that's it. If there are any other changes that have been made to the structure, those are not being considered tonight. They're not included. Any other questions, Darren?
No, I have no comments or questions on what's been submitted, except that I do
Okay.
think it is visible, but I did just want to make a note of the other things that I noticed on the plans.
Thank you. George, you have any questions?
I guess my opinion is that it wouldn't be here if it wasn't visible. So we go with the assumption that it's visible in A, and B, what we're approving or agreeing to is the tower and the dormer in the back, period. And I have no questions.
Thanks. Jim, do you have any questions? Can
No,
you,
yeah.
no question. Okay. Excellent.
Sign language, that works, Jim.
That works. Yes. Thank you. And I have no questions. I think we've commented enough. I did not receive any letters in favor of this application. I did not receive any letters opposing this application. And does anyone from the public here to speak in favor of the application? Does anyone like to speak in opposition of the application? I don't see any. So the hearing's closed.
Well, the chair,
Thank you,
if I could just a couple things, if I could just respond a couple things. Can I ask how the application is currently public notice?
The way your application was submitted.
But
to-
how's it noticed
I
in
mean,
the
it's-
paper?
For
Or in
A,
accordance
new
with the
two-story
requirements?
addition to rear previously approved dwelling, and B, new dormer on rear previously approved dwelling.
Okay, I must be looking at a different agenda notice. And the only thing I comment, aside from the question about whether or not it's required to be here, which I think the discussion on that's probably not beneficial, but it seems from the comments that the addition that is in keeping with your guidelines, and I don't think it's a significant change or a significant change to the massing of this building. So I think even if it was here the first time, I feel that this that this proposal is in keeping with your guidelines and should be approved. And thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Consideration of public hearings. Darren, do you have to? Are you pressed for time?
No, we had to, things changed. My daughter is sick, so it doesn't matter now.
Okay, excellent. Good.
Adam, it's Art.
Okay,
I have a hard stop at 10 of 7.
Okay. We should be able to get through this. So first item, Jim will be voting on, Jim, are you going to be able to vote on these? When you get some cue cards? I think George will have to vote on all the applications because can't seem to communicate with Jim. Okay, Jim, you understand that? Okay, so first item on the agenda.
He should
on
be able to
page
dial
150
in with his phone, Adam.
He should be. But he's been here all night and he's muted and can't unmute. Jim, can you try and call in? Use your phone? Anyway, first item on the agenda is Pawnee Page 163 Harbor Road in Southport for property located at 163 Harbor Road in Southport for A, decrease size of rear deck, B, replace existing deck and stairs, C, replace existing railing and lower deck enclosure, D, remove trash receptacle, E, new 4-foot high generator platform, F, new 4-foot high condenser platform, G, replace asphalt roof with cedar roof, H, replace aluminum gutters and downspouts with copper, I, revise and replace all windows and doors, J, revise and replace garage doors and louver, K, enclose existing front entry, L, new dormer, M, new bluestone chimney cap, N, revised front, side, and rear elevations, O, new 6x9 entry portico, P, remove roof to create exterior deck with shingle wall guard, Q, replace chain link fence with wood fence, R, native stone driveway with metal edging, S, bluestone path set in native stone with metal edging, T, gravel patio with metal edging, U, generator gate, and V, raised seawall 1 foot. Can I get a motion, please?
For discussion, I'll make the motion to deny as presented.
I'll second.
Was that motion with or without prejudice?
I did it plainly deny, so it can be amended after we discuss based on the discussion.
Okay.
Well, you can always
Question?
amend a motion, but I would, Mr. Chairman, I would, my sense would be is if whether it's for discussion purposes or on the merits, the motion should, if it's a denial, it should specify which on the merits or with or without prejudice. That's just me.
So you want to restate the motion?
Rosina, can you just clarify with or without prejudice for us?
Let's do it without prejudice for now then.
Okay. Second?
I second.
Okay. Discussion?
I'll start, I guess. I think it's an improvement over what was submitted originally. There's a number of different things, obviously. There's a question about massing and all of that. One of the bigger issues for me is the rear of the house. Because that extension on the back, while she might not have changed the height, I think one of the things that was being lost in translation is that the design of that can significantly impact its feeling and experience as you're approaching the house. And with the high parapet with the, I guess it's like a porch on the back, it makes it look very modern. And then on top of that, the 2/2 windows, I go back and forth with. My bigger problem with the windows is that there's like 3 or 4 different sizes of those same windows, which looks very incongruous incongruous throughout the design, especially in the back. Like there's smaller ones for the dormers, then there's slightly bigger ones, then there's really tiny ones, and then there's double height ones for doorways and like extra light. It's just very busy, and it looks extraordinarily modern compared to that farmhouse cottage or colonial cottage that is the vibe she's going for, I guess. Plus then you have that cabling on the rear. I just don't think that it fits with that district. I think it's against the historic characteristics of that district.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs a little bit more traditional detailing in the back, and that parapet wall that she's created does create more mass on that little section of building. I mean, at least with the gabled roof, didn't seem as large. I do think that would be a nice looking house anywhere else, but you know, in the context of the historic district, I'm not sure.
I also agree. The base of windows in the back and the roof decks in the back elevation, in addition to the 3 windows that are shown on the side elevation in the attic, it's all kind of not fitting with the neighborhood and with the structure that's existing. So massing, it's a big one as well. So
Yeah, I think the large vertical sides, I mean, the no shutters, the 2/2s, I think they're a little problematic. I think the window treatment could be different, and actually shutters would probably soften it, but I'm not here to design it.
Well, that's like been the trend, right? People taking shutters off.
Yeah, but what you end up with is
trying to take them off.
then you end up with a large, big flat surface, which is a little hard in what could be a soft neighborhood.
I mean, I took shutters off of my house. My house is a colonial transition Greek revival, but and I have my house is 1820. I have 2/2s. I don't know that I necessarily have a issue with that as much as I do with other elements. Sorry?
Your windows are 2/2 on a colonial?
Yeah. So the windows are extra big because they used to be 12/9s.
Oh.
And then I have the whole history of the house. They were replaced. Yeah, they're 1880s windows. They're
so the
original to some period. Yeah. But I mean, you do see them. The bigger issue to me is
I mean, usually colonials are like, 8/8 or something. That they're very dense.
So mine were 9/12s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or 12/9s. And we can tell by the window size.
2/2.
Yeah. Mine are 2/2. They were custom. It looks like they were custom built for this. They didn't change the window size. They're just really big 2/2s. And they have all the original 1880s, whatever. Anyway, now I lost what I was going to say about it. So never mind, I guess.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, let's take a vote then. All in favor? All opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. I guess Jim is voting.
Jim did vote.
Here. He just can't tell us anything. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Arian Shelley Weiner, 825 Harbor Road in Southport, for property located at 825 Harbor Road in Southport, for A, replace living room windows, and B, hood vent. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Okay, Regina, I'll give it to
Darren
you.
makes a motion and Rosina. gives a
Rosina.
second.
Rosina.
Discussion? No discussion? All right, all in favor? Jim, you're not voting on this one.
Matt, that's, I did it too.
George, you're voting on this one. All
Yeah,
opposed?
I voted in the affirmative.
Okay. I didn't see Art, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
He's there.
So motion passes. Okay, next item is Jarrett and Christine Ford, 46 Station Street in Southport for property located at 46 Station Street in Southport for a replace cinder block and bluestone steps with granite curbing steps. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a
I'll
motion
make
to
the
approve
motion.
as submitted.
I'll second.
Beat you to it.
Dan makes a motion, Rosanna seconds. Discussion? All right, no discussion, all in favor? Jim, you're voting on this one.
Jim, you're voting.
Alternate. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next item is the Carrie and Dan Wilson, 14 Willow Street in Southport, the property located at 14 Willow Street in Southport for A, replace existing AZAC steps with wood steps. B, add bluestone pavers adjacent to existing landing. C, stepping stone garden. D, circular fieldstone border with native gravel and rear seating area. And E, raised stone seating and edging in rear of seating area. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a
the
motion to
ap-
Oh,
Approve as
Rosina-
submitted.
Yeah, go ahead.
to approve A.
Okay,
through E
Rosina
as
goes-
presented.
Rosina gets the motion and Darren seconds.
I'll second
Discussion?
Adam.
Thank you. And that's to approve as presented?
That's to approve as
Agree,
presented.
Yes.
Okay. Discussion? George, you're voting on this? All in
Yes, sir.
favor? All opposed, unopposed, and abstentions, motion passes. Okay, last item on the agenda is David and Tina Montani, 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 920 Old Post Road for A, new two-story addition to rear of previously approved dwelling, and B, new dormer on rear of previously approved dwelling, and Rosina's recused. So Jim and George both vote. Can I get a motion?
Adam, this is Art. I'll move to approve A and B as presented.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. Great discussion. It's a little bit of disconcerting that I think the foundation's already been poured before they came to us, but I don't see anything wrong with their addition, what they want to do.
I
But
just, in the
as-
future, I
As
would like,
Darren
oh,
pointed
sorry.
out, as you pointed out, I think if there are discrepancies or differences between the approved plan and what they're proposing now, they'll be issued a violation. I mean, they shouldn't be changing stuff at this stage without approval. And I think they know that. And I'm not really sure why they're just going ahead and doing whatever they want. It's going to get them into trouble. But
I can show you
anyway.
where on the plans I was looking, but I mean, that's not on the table to
Well,
vote for. I just wanted to make sure I pointed it out so that it was noted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's great. I'll take a look. I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. I'm sure it's obvious. Anyway, let's take a vote. All in favor?
it's Jim, right?
Both of you.
Oh, both of us, right. Jim?
Yeah, Rosina's,
That's right, Rosina's up. Jim, raise your hand.
Jim, are you voting? You're voting yes or no?
Are you-
All opposed? Abstentions? Jim is abstaining, I guess.
Jim, did you vote?
Art, were you opposed?
No, I was putting my
No,
hand
he's
down.
a-
I voted in favor of the motion.
Okay, so it was unanimously approved?
Jim didn't vote. He should have,
I know. Right.
Well, it's
Motion still
approved.
passes.
but we go past it, yeah.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to approve, minutes. So, I guess we can approve the August minutes that Chris was at, and he's no longer on the commission, so, and Darren was there, so it's just me and Darren, and we can approve it with just the two of us, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
The minutes. Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve it, and you second, and all in favor? Yes. Motion passes.
Easiest vote
Um,
ever.
Yeah, right. The next is for the minutes from December 14th. I think everyone was here. Except for
Rosina had
George.
to leave
George-
early.
No, I
She
won't
didn't vote.
You're okay. So Art, Jim, and Darren, myself. Can I get a motion to approve that?
I'll
I'll
make a
make
motion
that
to
motion.
approve.
And I'll second it.
Darren, motion to approve. Art seconds, all in favor? Motion passes. And that's all I got. I have no repairs this month. No violations, no old or new business to discuss. Unless someone else has something they'd like to bring up.
I have a couple of just questions.
Okay.
Well, mostly just one. So I wrote to Mary and I didn't hear back. Do we know how the contract gets extended from SHPO to Fairfield? Is it with us or is it going through the first
Probably goes
selectman's
through the
office?
town. I think it goes through the town. They have, but yeah,
Is there
I
certain
had a
language that
contact
needs to be in there?
in what?
In the contract,
archive?
yeah. So I
Yeah, I
just
don't
want to
know.
make sure that like it wasn't supposed to come and I was supposed to see it or anything. Like I think it goes straight there, but I
No,
just want to make sure
think
that
it goes straight to
everything's
the
going
town.
through. Okay. All
And
right.
I don't know how long it takes it was approved.
Shouldn't take that long.
Yeah, it's been a month. It's also been over the holidays and stuff, so maybe that.
Hopefully, I usually hear back from Mary pretty quickly, so I'm hoping that I hear back from her soon. And as soon as I
Okay.
do, I'll let you know. But it
I
would
did
be
get an
nice to
email
get
from
that
someone who's-
RFP.
I did get an email from someone who's interested in being included on that. The RFPs,
Can you tell me who it was?
Not off the top of my head. I have to dig for the email. I think it's on the,
I can guess who I think it was.
hang on. Chris Skelly.
Okay,
Is that
not
ring a
who I
bell?
thought, but yeah, I know the name.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. How would he find out? You think through SHPO?
Sorry?
How do you think he found out?
He might have been on the SHPO call. I mean, it's
Oh.
all public meetings and stuff,
Yeah.
so it's all publicly
Right.
noticed.
Right.
There's definitely a group of people I would suggest soliciting. I mean, we can solicit from him too. We need at least 3 if we're going to solicit, but we'd open the RFP to, just general
Everyone.
open. But
The
if we
public.
actually want to solicit, there are some bids I would actually like to see from specific people,
Okay.
just on a personal
Yeah,
historic
you have
preservation.
experience doing this, so I mean, follow your lead. Great.
Okay.
I guess we just need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the
Okay,
motion
next.
to adjourn.
Karen makes a
I'll
motion to
second
adjourn.
it.
I'll
Second,
second.
George
Oh.
seconds.
Rosina
George
missed her
beat
cue.
beat you to
Rosina.
it.
Rosina, sorry. Next
All right,
time.
all
I'll
in
let
favor?
you. Aye.
All opposed, not opposed, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.